No, there is no Mike Tyson behind me smashing up Trevor Berbick. I am in a different room as the room I usually film in. The light isn't working, so there we are. I do apologise to my dedicated subscriber base, but I am rocking a bit of Everlast and I'm rocking the hoodie to give it that boxing flavour. What I want to talk about today is the heavyweight division and this constant narrative that's been pushed for a few years now that we're somehow in a golden era, a golden age, or we're on the cusp of one. Just a few days ago here on ESPN, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua ushering in a golden era of heavyweights, Max Kellerman. I've heard it a lot before and we keep hearing it. Let me tell you something. Nothing is a golden era or age in boxing unless it has come to pass, where we can weigh it, where we can analyse it, where we can contrast it against what came before and what came after. There's no other way to determine the quality. Let's take the example of the very best heavyweight division we've had thus far, the 1970s. A little bit better than the 1990s because the fights that needed to happen happened when they really mattered. Consider the time span. From March 1971, the first fight between Ali and Frazier, to October 1974, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. All the fights between the major players that we needed to happen happened just over 3.5 years. Ali and Frazier fought twice. The next year, they would have fought 3 times. That tells you what it takes in order to forge a really good era. You first need the really good major players, and then they need to mingle fairly rapidly so it keeps a consistent narrative of meaningfulness, basically. This supposed golden era that we're in now, that people have kept yapping about, basically started around 2015. It's been that long since Deontay Wilder has held that WBC belt, hard to believe. When he first beat Bermane Stiverne in January of that year, and then later, of course, Tyson Fury unseated the kingpin of the division, Vladimir Klitschko. So, what? That's like nearly 4 years now. And the fights that have happened in this supposed golden age, we've had one. Fury against Wilder. Now, Joshua against Klitschko was an awesome fight. As good as I've seen in a long time, that round 5 was beautiful. But it can't be considered part of this new era because Klitschko was already the guy who'd been unseated as the top dog. He's not part of this new era. He was just an old dog with one last great fight in him. But it's not part of this supposed golden era. We need to get a hurry on here. So, Fury and Wilder made it happen. They had one fight, but it's a draw, and it really needs that rematch. I do have faith that Fury Wilder 2 is probably going to happen next. It's not a sure thing, but I think it probably will. That's the one that needs to come in place after. But we've still got a lot of steps to make before this becomes a golden era. Fury's just signed a deal with ESPN and he's going to be making much as De Niro. But the problem is his mentality. He sees himself as the top dog. He sees himself as the cash cow. Anthony Joshua, probably more rightfully so, sees himself as the top guy making the most money. And that's just going to cause problems and possibly derail the fights we need to see in order to even be able to approach to call this a golden era. So, let's stick with reality, shall we? We live in an era where we want to hope things are going to be great. We want to attribute great value onto things to make us feel that we're a part of it. But the reality is, we're not in a golden era right now. It has to prove itself. It has to galvanize itself. The right elements have to come together to earn that status. So we look back and go, yeah, that did happen. Not look back and go, ah, shit. They waited until they were past it. The fights didn't happen at the right time. Bad timing. Some of the problems the 1990s had. And we can't say it was really all it should have been. Again, I do think Fury Wilder 2 will probably happen next. But as for this whole golden era rhetoric, that has still yet to prove itself.